Hi, and welcome to Two Tired Teachers.
We are headed to New Mexico to visit 4 state parks, well, some other national stuff around there. We're going to make a 5th video because we've recently been reading a series of books set in Albuquerque, and
we get to meet the author.
So come on along for the ride and stay tuned. This may not be the way most people get to Bottomless Lake State Park, but from Hobbs, we followed our GPS and it has now had us turn off on this little road. We actually pulled over, looked at the atlas to make sure the little town that was listed, Maljamar. But we're driving in an open range, so if we see any cattle, they're just going to be able to walk right across the road. But kind of interesting. Okay, we did arrive at Bottomless Lakes State Park.
This is a really cool picture of our campsite and the campground taken from a bluff.
And there is a road that actually goes, you can go up over or you can go all the way through. And Bottomless Lakes, this particular lake is the only one they're swimming in. They're Lea Lake. And it is spring fed, so when it's 100 degrees outside, I know my body was having waging a war. The top half was sweltering and the bottom half was freezing as I was getting in there, but felt good. It really felt good. And this is really a neat area that they have here at this swim area. All the way around there are picnic tables where you can go and leave your stuff, and a lot of people bringing picnics and stuff to have while they're enjoying the cool water at the lake.
And of course the lake isn't actually bottomless, but it is 90 feet and scuba diving's done.
And the reason it was named Bottomless Lake is because when the cowboys discovered it, they were trying to find out how deep it was, and they took their saddles and used their lassos and tied the saddles together, and they never found the bottom.
Yes.
And so it got that name. But this gives you an idea of some of the campsites.
And this is one of the places on Google Earth where you can drop the little guy into the campground and let him roam around. And that's how we came up with our site.
And we are going to be doing a video about how to find the perfect campsite. And so we were very pleased with this site. And it's unique. It's a different terrain than we'd ever stayed at before.
It's a different kind of beauty.
And we really enjoyed our time here. And now, as we mentioned, Bottomless Lake, I was surprised that there's a wetland in New Mexico. But there's this boardwalk, and it goes out, and there are different areas where there is water in this part of New Mexico. And they also
have about 4 little blinds along this boardwalk that you can go to. It keeps the heat off you some, and you can bird watch or whatever.
And it was very interesting. They do have, you'll see in just a moment, and I did kind of zoom in here so you can see there actually is water there.
Yes.
This was across the street from Lea Lake, where the swimming is. But then they also have this interpretive information and the pupfish.
It's endangered, and there is some here.
This is one of the places that it's found. But this is another one of the lakes, and you just think, oh, that's disgusting. Well, actually, it's because it's so far down in there that an algae grows on top of it, and that's just the way it is. This, I think, they called the lagoon, and this is down nearer the park headquarters. This was not the way we came in, but this is another one of the bodies of water, and once again, the only one you can swim in
is Lea Lake. It has the marked off swimming area.
But it is a huge park
near Roswell.
And it's about 15, 18 miles from Roswell. And Roswell is a unique little city. And in 47, something happened. And the government, because of national security, wasn't releasing that information, so this mystique of aliens landing in Roswell, or near Roswell, it wasn't in Roswell, but near Roswell, and Roswell hung on to it. They knew a good deal when they saw it.
And there are little alien shops up and down Main Street. The one thing I would recommend you do if you come is go to the UFO Museum. to see the newspaper articles from really around the world about Roswell in 1947.
But this was our first morning in New Mexico. We weren't even thinking of the time change. We just got up and got into town, and it worked out well because it was before the heat really came in. But you can see that they have a theme in Roswell. And
the whole town.
All things alien. And it is a lot of fun, and it's like I said, unique. You're not going to see this kind of concentration of alien memorabilia anywhere else. And so we have Alien Zone right here next to Area 51. But it's hard for people now to even consider national security as it was viewed in the 40s
yes.
and 50s, and the patriotism, and so if anybody knew anything and they were told not to talk, they weren't going to. But they do have a lot of really kind of cool historical artifacts mixed in with aliens. And so it is a town worth making a trip
sure.
to. If you're somewhere, going to be anywhere around the area, and it's really not that far from Carlsbad, and maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours north. So if you're going to Carlsbad, it's worth your stop here as well.
Okay, Marlena, what have you thought of Bottomless Lake State Park, our first of 4 New Mexico state parks?
The park itself is rather small, but parts of it are absolutely gorgeous.
That part.
Yeah.
And the lake is assuming is spring fed because it is super clear and very cold.
It is cold.
If air temperature is 100 degrees, it will cool you down and
fast,
really fast. But lots of families out there enjoying
yes.
it, and that's always fun to see. It's a big draw for the area.
Yes.
And another thing we want to mention is if you're coming here, go to Roswell and come from there. Do not take the little back. That your
GPS may suggest.
We drove across 3 cattle guards to get here. So don't follow that path. Go a different route from between Hobbs and here. We drove across 3 cattle guards. So
if you're coming here, I highly recommend that you go to the UFO Museum in Roswell. Something happened here in 1947, and we don't know what.
And back years ago, national security people took it very seriously, and my guess is it was some sort of a weather balloon, whether it was Soviet or American, I don't know, but it was made out of Mylar or something, because that would have been extremely high tech at the time. And whatever it was, the military did not want that information released. And so that's that secrecy is what led to the lure of aliens, and it's kept Roswell on the map.
Yes, and the newspaper articles there in the museum are worth seeing.
Definitely.
Because
it's history.
Yes.
It is history. But Roswell is just an interesting, fun, unique little city. It's worth a stop if you've not been there. This particular park we thought was going to be a little bit closer. It's actually
about 30 miles.
Yeah, I think from Roswell, and so, but it is a nice place. And I'm going to give you a panorama view of it here in just a second, just to give you an idea. This is a park. If you watch our video on how to find the perfect campsite, this is one where actually Google Earth, you could drop the little guy and look at the picnic table.
Yes.
And so
the sites are close together. They're relatively small, but this is, would you consider this desert terrain?
High desert.
Yeah. And so if it were larger, you'd have more desert. I mean, it's got places for your chairs cleared off. We could have
Camp-
the awning out if we wanted.
tent pads. And so, it has everything. The grills are all wrapped off because there are fires burning in different places throughout the state. And so,
In such severe drought right now.
but I am so glad we came here. And the lake is worth we saw people from Florida that had brought kayaks and stuff. So I don't think this was their only stop, but it was definitely a place they wanted to check off their list of places to go. So we hope you have enjoyed this look at Roswell and some of the history, no matter what your views are so far as the UFOs, but
Bottomless Lake.
and Bottomless Lake State Park.
Thanks for watching Two Tired Teachers.
Yeah.